was arranged. It wasn't arranged very well. So I'm going to forward them maybe right after class. So today we are going to talk about so yesterday we talked about visual design techniques, what and what's required, and we said we have the button, the input field, illustration, iconography, we have the color, name them. So and I showed you how it actually looked like from my previous work that I have done. And I told you these are the things it contain. It's like a guideline for your design. You know, when you are done with your paper low fidelity or paper sketch, then or maybe after your flow chart, you can just choose to create it and before your low fidelity, or you can choose to create it before your after your low fidelity. So anyway it can go. But most of us, like personally, I create my once I am done with my flow chart. So before I start my low fidelity, I have to design my guide for my UI project. Okay, so today we are going to create those visual designs and techniques. So we're going to be typing what and what. We need input button, we need input field, we need the button, iconography, and somebody was asking me where can we get illustration, and I told you we're going to talk about all those things in today's practical class. Now, first thing first, we all know that we are done. Let's say we are done with the brainstorming part. Now we are moving into the UI part, where we have to gather our solution and then create ideas and then turn those ideas we created into visual designs. And now this is what we are about to do. Now, once you are done with your wireframe, let's say your low fidelity, but I will advise you as a designer to always create your style guide once you are done with your flow charts. Okay, that is how, like, I think that is, to me, I feel it is actually the right way to do that. But you can actually create it after your low fidelity. But I always say create your style guide before you move to your wireframe, because it is your style guide that you are going to use on your mid fidelity and then your high fidelity. Okay, so now we're going to start working on all those techniques, all those elements that we pointed out in our previous yesterday class. So now first thing first is we're going to move into Figma. So once we move into Figma, you open a file and then you can name it whatever you want to name it on that page. So, and I showed you some of my work yesterday where I have the logo for the particular project. I have my style guide, which is the first thing, and then my UI, and then prototype and all. So now we're going to create it on Figma. So I have to go to my frame and then I select desktop, or you can choose whatever frame you want to use. You can choose whatever customized one, like one of your choice you want to use, but have it at the back of your mind that the frame is actually going to be very, very wide. So here I am using a desktop frame of 1440. The width from here to here is 1440. And now that is what I am going to use for my list of my style guide. So now first thing first is I have placed my frame and then I have actually like stretch it, like drag it downward, because that's the default size for it is too small for me to add my stuff inside. So I have to stretch it this way. Now, first thing first is the first thing we saw yesterday is a typography mystery. So now the first thing we're going to do is to create our typography. So what are we going to do? So we are going to create typography. First thing first, let's create a header and name it style guide. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this rectangle here. I'm going to stretch it this way to the end of this place. And then I'm going to change the color. So what color should we use? Let's use something dark blue. Okay, let's use something dark blue. So I'm going to move it to this place. And then I'm going to stretch this to this place. Okay. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my text and I'm going to add it here. And then I'm going to say style. So I'm going to say style guide. So you can also rename it here and you can do it here. So I'm going to use the font I'm going to use on my design. So I'm going to use urban lists. So I'm going to use urban list, and I'm going to increase it to semi-bold, and I'm going to increase the font size to 48. So I'm going to place it here, and I'm going to hold these ones together. Then I'm going to click this rectangle. So I'm going to use let's use 130 for the height, and then I'm going to, let's increase this to bold so that it will be visible enough, and let's make this here to be 50. Perfect. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to group them together, but this time around I am not using group. What I am using is auto layout. So what I'll be using is auto layout tool. So what I'll be using is use auto layout to arrange it. Now, how I'm going to show you what is auto layout. Auto layout is is a component. Is a component that helps you to align your work. So instead of using group to arrange it and start going deep and in to set it, auto layout will just help you do it in a very easiest way. So once you start creating button, I'm going to show you how sweet auto layout, what like the feature, the nice feature auto layout does. So now let's arrange this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my text and hold the rectangle together, and then I'm going to right click and then place it in add auto layout. Now watch. So once I add auto layout to it, it has actually reduced. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch it this way. So I'm going to move it. Now, once I move this, I don't want this text to be at the center. I want it to be at the right hand side. So what am I going to do? So I'm going to come here where I'm seeing auto layout. Now watch, let's remove this auto layout. Now, if you remove this auto layout, you can see that the rectangle is gone. It's now inside a frame, but we don't want it that way. So I have to undo to return back my auto layout settings. Now I have returned back my auto layout setting. Now watch. I'm going to just click here, align to the left, good, align to the right, you get, but I want it to be at the left, so I'm going to move it at the left hand side. So perfect. Now I have moved it to the left hand side. Now let's watch some little magic. So you can choose to align it this way, but we don't want to align it this way. So I'm going to come back here. So now I'm going to zoom in, and then I'm going to see this. My cursor is going to change in form of T. So let's see. It has changed in form of T, telling me that the space between this place and this place is 0. But I don't want it to be 0. So I'm going to move it. So while I'm moving it, now as I'm moving it, now we have 7 here. Now watch this place. It's now 7. It's now 742. So the reason why it's telling me 742 is because the space from here to here, now the space from here, like from here, now you can see that, see the way my cursor is now 42, but the space here is showing me 7, and I don't want it to be like this. I want it to be 42 here and then 42 here. So you can choose to just come here, double click the only 7, like double click, I like the only 7 and change it by number, or you can choose to come here to just move it till it gets to, sorry, 42, not 47, till it gets to 42, and then you can now leave it. Now let's click out. Now let's zoom out. Now we have created our header, and then I can come to this place. Instead of frame 1, which is actually inside, I'm going to double click and then put header on it. Now this is what I have. Perfect. Now we are done with our header. Now the next thing we are going to do is to get the font choice that we want to use. Now, so we already use the font choice here, so I'm just going to double click and then drag out. Now it's this white, and then I will come here and then I'm going to use a gray color. So this is a dark gray color. So I'm going to duplicate it out. So I'm going to use letter A and small letter A. Now this is what I have. So I'm going to increase the weight of this font. Like I'm going to increase it very, very well, because I want to say, okay, this is how the style look like, and then adding the name and then the font family. So let's make it this way, and then I'll come back to this 50 I can then increase it to maybe 96 or whatever number I want to read, but I want my to stand out. So I'm going to bring it here. So I'm going to add it here, and then I'm going to duplicate it, Control D, or then you just Alt and then drag out. So I'm going to use Control D. Now it has duplicates. So it has duplicates. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this color. Like I'm going to change the color so I can know which of them is there. So the outer one is the red, and then the inner one, which is this one, is still the other color. So I'm going to drag it out a little bit. Just hold your left key, like your side key on your keyboard, your side key, just move to the right one bit. Now you can see that it's moving. Now once I have moved it, and then I can then turn off the color, like remove the color, and then I'm going to use stroke. Now you can see how it's now looking. So I'm going to change the color to the lighter shade. Okay, and then I'm going to come this way. Now on this settings, stroke setting, I'm going to click on it. And then we have solid here. I'm going to click on and use dash. Now you can see how it's looking like, and you can see how solid is looking like, and you can choose to customize. So, but I don't want to customize. I want to just use dash, and then I'm going to use the dash number should be 5. Now this is how I want it to be, and then I'll just close the stroke. So this is how I want it to be. And then let's say the stroke is a little bit thin, so I'm going to scroll down. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to scroll down, and then I'm going to make the stroke to be 2 because the default size is 1, and then I'll click my enter. Now perfect. Okay, I think it's actually looking big, so let's use 1.6. Okay, perfect. This is okay. Now, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight both of them, and then I'm going to right click and then group selection. Now, this is what I'm going to use, and then I will come here and then I will rename it to alphabets. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this text I duplicated, and I'm going to bring it up, and then let's say we're going to bring this rectangle, and I'm going to add it here. Now I'm going to reduce the opacity. So I'm going to reduce it a little bit. I'm going to give it a corner radius of 5. So I'm going to give it a corner radius of 5. And then I'm going to bring this text inside. I'm going to reduce the font width. So let's use 20. And let's bring it in here. And then let's push it to the top because the rectangle is covering it. And then let's reduce it to semi-bold, and then bring it this way, and then you can just put the font family. So let's check what the font family. I can't actually remember what the font family is, but just give me a few seconds. Let me check what the font, where it belongs, like the font family it belongs. Okay. So now I'm back. So now let's duplicate this and reduce it to, let's use 16, and let's use regular, and let's go back and reduce the opacity. Okay, because I want my, if you make it this way, I'm going to struggle to see the text, but if you make it this way, this is okay. So I'm going to paste the font family. So it belongs to this font family. So I'm going to bring it this way. So I'm going to bring it this way, and then I'm going to arrange it properly. So I'm going to arrange it properly. So I'm going to arrange it and align it very well. So let's bring it this way, and then let's move to align to the left, and then let's move it this way. Now we have moved it this way. Now we've moved it this way, and then we can now use auto layout to arrange them. So right click, add auto layout to them. So now the space between the first and the second is 6, which is showing here. Now I'm going to reduce this. So I'm going to reduce this. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to arrange this element and then this rectangle together. So that is the first thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to right click, and then you can choose frame selection or you can choose auto layout. So in this case, I'm going to use auto layout. So are you guys following me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma.
All
Yes,
right.
ma.
All right, so let's continue. Now we are done creation of fonts. Now this is what we want. So this is how the font is going to look like, and this is the name of the font and the family it belongs to. So now I'm going to hold these two, and then I'm going to align them together. Now I'm going to align them together, and then I'm going to, you can choose to do frame selection, you can choose whatever you want to choose, you can just leave it this way, which is okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make them auto layout. So let's make them auto layout. So let's make them auto layout. This is perfect. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write in the styles of text I'm going to use. So now in this aspect, you'll be wondering what kind of text styles you'll be using. Do you want all your text to be bold? Do you want all your text to be thin? Do you want all your text to be regular? Do you want the text width to be 20, 30, 40? You cannot tell, but you have to say, okay, this is the font style I'm going to use, or this is the font choice I'm going to use. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to list out all the fonts you are going to use. Now, in the aspect of creating a web, let's say you're creating a website, let's say a website or a web app. And what is a website? Let me explain the difference between a website. A website is actually a site or application or a platform you can visit without signing up. You want to do, there's an activity you need to carry on that site. You don't even need to bother signing up. For example, we have, let me say, for example, you want to check my portfolio and you just type helenchimike.com. You just check whatever you want to check and then you go out. You don't need to sign. So any site or any platform, you just need to go and get informations. Like you need to know what is happening. Like let's say we have the, what is this platform for news? We have this NigerLoaded.com. Just go there, look at what you want to do, and then you go out. We have some business platform, some business person's platform where you have to go to the site, do whatever you want to do, and then you don't need to sign up. Now, what is a web app? A web app application is actually an application you can go into the site, do whatever you want to do. But if you need to go further in the activity that the platform is providing, then you have to sign up. For example, Jumia, Gigi, name them Konga, your school application, your school site. Let's say your school, you have to log into your dashboard to see whatever you want to see information. Let's say, for example, Stephen Eze wants to apply for Port Harcourt Polytechnic, and Deborah is actually a student of Port Harcourt Polytechnic, which she can sign up in their website, go and see her results. You can check her results online. But Eze is a student that wants to apply for that school. So now that is what a web. Now let me explain the difference. Now Deborah is actually a student already. She already have an account and she has a dashboard when it's showing her her result every semester, the tax every semester. You get, and Eze is actually a student. He's looking for school he wants to attend. Okay, now if it's something like, let's say this school actually collects, you can actually send your applications on that school website, and then Eze comes to this. Like Eze has checked Abuja University, he has checked Nasarawa State University, he has checked Kefi Polytechnic, he has checked, and then he now gets to, now checking all these things doesn't mean that he has to sign up. No, He's just looking at the requirements about us, blah blah blah, and all, and he did not even sign up. I said, the school fees is much in this one, I'm going off, because he didn't apply and he left. And now when he gets to Port Harcourt Polytechnic site and he click on it and he saw that the school fees is something that he can afford, the requirements actually meet whatever he wants to, like his credentials. And then he said, yes, this is actually my school. And then if he wants to apply for admission, that is when the site will now require him to sign up. So when he sign up, so that the site will know if it's a male or a female and the full name of the person that wants to apply for this school. You can tell this is what a web application means. Now, for a mobile application is something we all know that it can never operate unless you have to download it from your App Store or your Google Store. Okay, that is what a mobile application means. Same thing for when somebody say a web app, Jumia is a web app because it has an application and you can actually do whatever you want to do on the site. Okay, Konga, Gigi, name them. Instagram is a web app. Our social media platform is a web app. Yes, because you have it, you can operate mobile and it can operate on the website. And whenever you want to continue your information further, you have to sign up. Twitter, I think I found out recently that you can actually scroll on Twitter without signing up. Let's say, for example, somebody share a link for you. Let's say somebody share a link for you on WhatsApp and then you click it, it takes you to your browser. You can continue scrolling, but it will be showing you login, sign up. Like at a point of time, it will just tell you login and sign up, and then it will post whatever you are doing there. I think I found that recently, which is actually a nice feature. So it will tell you login and sign up if you actually want to continue liking or you want to even comment. But when somebody sends you a link, you can't do and you can't comment, you can't like, can just see the thing, you can play the video and watch, but to just immediately and show you have to sign up to continue. So that is what a web app, a mobile app, and then website actually means. Now the font choice we are using, let's go back to today's class. So the font choice we are using is Urban List, and then we said there are different ways you can create your text that you're going to use. Now, first thing first we're going to do is I want the space for this place and the space for this place to be the same thing. So what am I going to do? I'm going to click on this, my frame, style guide frame, and then I'll come to this place. I will use layout grid. Now, remember, it is one of the techniques that we can use when creating our style guide. Remember, right? So now we're going to use it here. I don't want to use ruler. So I don't want to use ruler because it shifts, like at a time, maybe mistakenly my cursor touch it, it will shift. But I want to use layout grid to arrange my work here and here. Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to come to this. I'm going to click my frame, come to this place, click on this plus sign. So I'm going to click on this plus sign. Now, this is how it is going to show me. Now, I don't want to use grid. This is not what I want. Now, I want to use columns and rows. So, but I just want to use, it contains grid, colors, and rows. But what I'm using is just columns because I want to arrange my stuff straight. So I'm going to come here, layout grid settings. I'm going to come here and I'm going to click on columns. Now I'm going to select, so let's make it, you can make it actually any number you want to, depending what you want to design. But in this aspect, I'm going to use 10. So I'm going to use 10. Now my margin is showing me 0 because I have not set anything here. So I'm going to use, but my gutter is showing me 20. So the space between this here and here is 20. Why this count? This thing that look like pink color is count and it's 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now the space between, let's use rectangle to measure. Now the space between here to here is 20. Now you can see that my rectangle weight is 20. So I'm going to remove it out to show you. So I'm going to click back and I'm go back to my layout grid. I'll click on the settings and then I'm going to set my margin. So the margin I'm going to set, I'm going to use 50. So I'm going to use 50 for it. Now you can see that our S is outside and this is actually aligned. But now I'm going to move this S inside to be the same line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this, our header here. And then I'm going to use here to move in, because we already know that the space between here and here is 42. Sorry, the space between here and here is 42. So I can come here to actually move it this way, or I can just come here and move it this way. So any way you want to. So this way is perfect. So I'm going to use 50, and you can choose to make them equal if you want to. So 50, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is I have created my layout grid, because I don't want any of my style guide to cross this line. I want everything to be inside this count from year to year. So now the next thing I'm going to continue, now I'm going to turn the eye off. Let's turn it off. But when we want to arrange, you can just turn the eye on. But now let's turn it off. So let's turn it on. So the next thing I'm going to do is to break down all the text styles I'm going to use. So let's turn this off. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this and I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to put this heading 1. So my heading 1 is going to be 48, 44. So I am just giving an assumption font, but as times goes on, when you start designing your website or your web app or the mobile view or web view, whatever view you are designing, that is when you now have to go back to your text font and then change. Let's say, for example, you are designing for a landing page and the text on the hero, like the hero page is the first page you see immediately you go to a website or a web app. The first page you see that covers your full screen or your full browser is the hero section. Now, the fonts that they use there is actually 48, which is this, and it is bold. This is how it looks like, headings. Then and you don't like how big it is, you can come back to change it. But for now, we are going to use this, and I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to duplicate it. I am going to reduce it to medium, and I'm going to reduce the font text to text 2. And then I'm going to use this gray color I have set here. So I'm going to pick the color code. So the color code is 93, 93, 93. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to change it to 93, 93, 93. Now this is what I have. So I'm going to say, the name of the fonts. Let's see, urban lists. So I'm going to use bold, which is actually this. So this, which is bold, and it is 48. And then I'm going to drag this here, and I'm going to say 48 pixels. So this is what I am using. So the reason why I had to reduce this font is because this is like a title, and this is the body. So I want to arrange it in a way it look more presenting. So I don't want to use, because I'm using this big font, I'm going to use this, and no. But when you start designing, this is the one you're going to pick. You're just going to pick this one and then place on your design and then start typing what you want to type. Okay. But now I'm going to just indicate it, the font weight and the font size. Okay. So now I'm going to reduce this to regular, and I'm going to reduce this to 20. Okay, let's use 24. Now I'm going to hold the both of them, the three of them, and then I'm going to arrange it equal. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold this and hold this, and then right click, auto layout, or you use your keyboard shortcut, which is Shift A, and then I'm going to hold this again. I'm going to do auto layout for it. Now this is what I have. Now I have done that, like I right click to create this, and then I did the keyboard shortcut on my keyboard with keyboard Shift and A to create this. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to leave it this way. I don't want to just place it like that. I want to give it a feel of this, like a little background color of this, the same way I did for this. Now, so what am I going to do? I'm going to right click, and I'm going to add. Okay, you can't add auto layout. It's telling me remove. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my keyboard shortcut and create another auto layout. So I'm going to hold them and I'm going to say Shift A. Now this is what I have created. So I'm going to drag this a little bit. I'm going to drag this a little bit, this a little bit, and this a little bit. Okay. But if you don't want to do any of this, now let me show you another way you can create this. Now it's showing that, let's zoom in. It's showing that the space here is 10, 10, 10, 10, which is here. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this 25. Now you can see it's showing me 10, 25. So you can just highlight all of them and just put 25 here, which is now 25 here and then 25 here. And then here and here is still showing me 10. So I can just double click and then type 25, or I can just move it this way. You get? But yeah, in this aspect, I am going to increase it. So yeah, I'm going to increase it to 25. So let's make it 25. Now you can see it's showing that here is 10 and here is 10. So what am I going to do? So if you don't want to start dragging, you can just go ahead, double click and then type 25. So now it's not showing that the space here is 25, the space here is 25, and the space here is 25. So now I can choose to drag it a little bit, and then I can give it this fill color. So I'm going to come to this color here, which is this background color. I'm going to add a background color, which is the fill. I'll click on the plus, and then I have white. Default color is always white. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to pick my color or my color picker, and I'm going to click on this color. Now this is what I have. But yeah, it is too dark. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give it a corner radius of 5. And then I'm going to come to this place and I will reduce the color a little bit. Now this is what I have. I have actually created one font style. So I'm going to duplicate it and then I'm going to create the next one. So here I'm using 48. Okay. So here I use 48. So here I'm going to use heading 2 and I'm going to use 44. So this is an easy way you can change it. Very, very easy way. Then let's see, I'm going to use heading of 3. So I'm going to come here and then I'm going to change it to 3. You don't even need to start creating afresh. You don't need to start using auto layouts. Once you just arrange the first one, you can just duplicate and then reduce. So when you are reducing the text, make sure you're also reducing the text here, because once you start designing, it is this one, like it is this heading, like this title, that you're going to just drag into your design and then change the contents to whatever you want to use. Now let's move to the next one. So this one we're using 40. So here we are using 40. You come to this place, this heading 3, and then you select 40. Now the next thing you're going to do, you're going to duplicate. So the next one we're going to use is going to be so the next one we're going to use is going to be let's say headline 4. So let's move this 3 to 4. So we use 40 here. So let's make this 32. So let's make this 32. And then let's click on this heading 4 to 32. Now, okay. You can choose to add 36. You can choose, but in this aspect, I'm just using 30. You can use 38, 36, depending what you want to use. But in this aspect, I'm just showing you how you can change it on your design. So once you start designing, so once you start doing your design and you see that, oh, this particular text is too tiny, you can go back to your style guide and then you use it, the one that, like, let's say I'm using 32 and 32 now on this my mobile screen is too big, like it's too big. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stay on that my mobile screen. I'm going to change, let's say 32 is too big and I use 28, and you see that 28 is actually perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my style guide, come back to this particular one that is 32, and then change it to 28. So now the next one is going to be headline 5. So I'm going to use 28. So I'm going to reduce this to 28. And I'm going to reduce this. Now you can see that as we are coming down, this guy needs to be reduced. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come here and I'm going to reduce it to 24. And this is going to be, this is 28. And I'm going to say 28 here. Now I'm going to duplicate it. and then I'm going to say heading 6. So heading 6, I'm using 24. So I'm going to reduce this text to 16. I'm going to reduce this to 20, and I'm going to reduce this to 24. Now you can see that it is going down like a step, a ladder that you're coming down. So the next one I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate and then say headline 7, and then so now there's something there. If you watch, you start all of them is in bold, 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 bold. Now once we are done setting, I'm going to go back and then set it, because I don't want to use bold in all my text. Okay, so this is going to be 7, and this is going to be 20. Okay, let's use 18. Okay, let's use 20, then 18. So I'm going to make this to be, okay, this is actually good. So let's reduce this one. So this is 20. So I'm going to set this to 20. So the next one is going to be heading 8. I'm going to set it to 18. So we don't have 18 yet. So I'm going to type 18 myself. So I'm going to reduce this to 14. And I'm going to reduce this to 13, 12. Okay, I love using even numbers. So I'm going to use 12. So I'm going to duplicate the last one, and I'm going to come here. So now let's go back. So this is bold. So this is bold also. So let's just make this semi bold. So this is going to be semi bold. So let's make this semi bold. So now you can see that this thing is actually long, like it has come out. So this is what we are going to do. So I'm going to highlight all this down. I'm going to drag this down, and then I'm going to drag this way. Now I'm going to change this headline 3 to be semi bold. Now this is what we have. I'm going to drag this in here, and then I'm going to make this is 32. So I'm going to use bold, semi bold for this. I'm going to scroll, I'm going to scroll this and select semi bold, and I'm going to change this text to semi bold. So I'm going to change this to semi bold, and then I'm going to drag this out. Now we remember we are using layered grid because we don't want this text to be out. So we're going to go back and turn on our layered grid. Now you can tell that this didn't get to the point here, and this got to the point here. So we're going to reduce this to this way. So yeah, and then we're going to move this way, and then move this to this place. Now this is what we have, and then we're going to highlight the 4 of them and then arrange them properly. So we're going to move them to the top, and then you can just choose to double click on tidy. It will tidy them up. Now you can tell that this one is like a ladder. So but what are we going to do here? So I'm going to drag this here, and I want all of them to be the same way. So I'm going to drag this here, and I'm going to click on this element inside, and I'll move it to align at the center, center left, center left, center left. So I'm going to click here, and I'll move to center left here also, left, and then left, and this should be left. Now we are done with this first. So let me turn off the layout grid. So I'll just close the eye. And then I will come back to this. So I'm going to bring this up here. Now this is one thing I love about Figma. So just once I dragging something to tell you the space between this and this, and the if it has gotten to the same line. Now the next one we're going to do is, so we stop at this semi bold. So the next one is 28. So I'm going to use semi bold here also. So I'm going to use semi bold here also. So I'm going to change this to semi bold. So in your design, just like I made mention before, if you are designing and you find out that on this particular stuff or on this particular screen, you need to use bold, semi bold is too small, just go back to your style guide and then change it back to whatever you use on your design. So this is not like a permanent font you are going to use. This is just like creating a font that you just assume that is going to fit. But once you start creating your UI design, then if it doesn't fit, you have to go back and then use the one that fits in on those designs. Now the next thing we're going to move is the now heading 6. So heading C, so don't forget to keep this at the center left. Now the next thing we're going to move is this one. So here we are using 4. So here we are using 24. So here we are using 24. So what are we going to do? So we're going to move this to align to the left, center left, so I will not forget. And then I'm going to say, okay, 24, 24. So let's use semi-bold. Let's move this to semi-bold. And let's also duplicate this. So where is this? Let's leave this one here. So, and I want to have, also, so let's change this to semi-bold. I also want to have this same font for 28, but I want it to be medium. So I'm going to move this to 7, and I'm going to move over this bold, and I'm going to use medium for it. So I'm going to change this to medium, which is 24 for semi-bold and 24 for medium. So the next one I'm going to move is I'm going to move this. Now you can see that this has already reduced. So we can just choose to, we want to make everything to be aligned the same way. So you're going to want every box to be the same way. So you can just choose to make it the same. So don't forget to place at the center. Then also for here at the center, align to the center left. Now the next thing we're going to do is, this is 20. So for 20, we want to have medium and regular. Now, so what we're going to do is, so I'm going to come here. First thing first, I'm going to change this to medium. So I'm going to change this. So what number should be this? This should be 8. So I'm going to use medium and regular. So I'm going to duplicate this here. And then I'm going to change this to regular. And then I'm going to change this from medium to regular. Perfect. So the next one I'm going to have is this is 20. This is 20. Okay, you can take any of these. So you see that this is actually big, so I'm going to reduce it to this size. Okay, this size, this, and this. Okay. Now the next I'm going to bring is here. I'm going to align to the center left. Okay, and this is actually regular. So the next one is going to be this is 20. So this next one is going to be 16. Okay, we're using 18. So this is 18. So I'm going to move 18 to be medium and regular. So I'm going to say medium, and then we're going to change this to 18. And I'm going to duplicate. Okay, let's change this to 9. Let's change it to 9, and let's duplicate it. And let's change this to 10. And let's change this to regular. And let's move this to regular. So the next one, so I'm going to take this out. So the next one I'm going to create, you can choose to just leave it this way, then bring this, since it's actually small, you can bring the next one to be 11. So this is going to be 16, 18. Let's use 14. Then let's move this to regular. So I'm going to reduce this to 14, and I'm going to be regular. So I'm going to duplicate the next one, and I'm going to use the next, I'm going to say the next one is going to be medium, and I'm going to change this text to be medium. Now this is what I have. So I'm going to align them very well. So I'm going to arrange to the top, and then I'm going to tidy. I have tidied up this text. So I'm going to take this because I want to create for 12. So let's move these guys here. I'm thinking of adding 16. So let's just add 16, just in case we don't use it, we can take it off. But if it actually fits, you can just, so let's just add 16 to it. So I'm going to make this to be 16. So I'm going to also make this to be 16. So this is going to be 12, and this is 11. So let's make this 12, and let's come here and make this 13, and let's make this 14. Since you're already carrying the two sets, so I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to move this 2 in here. It was the 14 we created. And I'm going to say this is 13, and this is 14. So now I'm going to duplicate these two and create for 12, and then we are done. So the next one is going to be 15, and this is going to be 16, and this is going to be 12, and this is going to be 12. Good. Now we're going to move this to 12, which is the tiny we're going to use, and this also to 12. Now you can see that we are done creating typography. So the text, font, and weight that we're going to use. So you can choose to just move it this way, and then you can choose. I don't enjoy using group, so I advise you use frame on it. But if you choose to use auto layout, so you can just hold 1, 2, 3, since you've already arranged it, and then right click, auto layout, hold the second one since you've arranged it to the top, and then tidy. The tidy is not showing here because it is arranged. So the reason why tidy is not showing is because the space between this and this is 52, this and this is 52, this and this is 52. So it's already tidy up. So you just right click, auto layout. You hold this. I think this is actually arranged. Then you right click, auto layout. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not arranged. So you click here and then tidy up. It's now arranged. And then you can now right click and click auto layout. Then you can now hold the 4 lines and then tidy up. You can choose not to tidy up. You can just right click and add auto layout. Now you can see that I am done arranging this. Now I can come back to this place, and then I can choose to type font style. So, or font style, yes, font style, right? So this is font name, and then I'm done with this. So the next one I'm going to create is the next one we talked about yesterday. Is the layout grid and system grid. So how are we going to create that? So what we are going to do is we are going to use, now this is what we are going to do. So we're going to, since we are designing, let's say since we are designing a web app for mobile and web. So since we are designing for a mobile and a web, so I'm going to click here and I'm going to select. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to select my desktop. So this is what it looks like. And I'm also going to go back to my frame, and I'm going to select the mobile. So I'm designing with iPhone 13 mini. So I'm going to place it here, again here. So I'm going to say for the web view, and also come back here and say for the mobile view. So good. So what am I going to do? The next thing I'm going to do is to create my layout grid. So we actually use layout grid to create this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here and I'm going to click on this plus sign. Now this is how it's going to show. I'll click here and then I will use my columns. So for the web, I enjoy using 12 and margin. So let's use margin of 100. So this is how it's going to look like. And then I'm going to zoom out. And then I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to bring my text. So you can choose to just take one text here. So let's use font text of medium. So we're going to say this. So let's put okay, let's align this to the center. So let's align this to the center. So I'm going to say so the column. So I'm going to use columns. Am I actually spelling this right? I think it's showing me errors. So this is actually the right spelling. So okay, this is actually too small. So I'm going to use this 48 bold. So I'm going to come back here and say 48, type it, and then I'm going to use bold. So I'm going to say column is 12 count. So I'm going to put yes, so 12 count. So I'm going to move to the center, and then I'm going to duplicate this. So I'm going to use 24 medium. So I picked it from here, 24px medium font size and font weight and size. So this is going to be medium and this is going to be 24. So I'm going to say margin. So I'm going to say margin is 100, so I'm using 100. So I'm going to place it here. I'm also going to, you can place it here. I'm also going to duplicate it and then move it straight to this other side. Now the next one is going to be gutter. So what is gutter? The space between this first count and second count. So how am I going to do that? So I'm going to say, let's move this. This is actually too small, but we can actually make it big. So let's use 28. So I'm going to use semi bold and then 28. So I'm going to type it since it doesn't have the option. So I'm going, now you can see that this guy is outside the frame. So I'll just bring it in here by clicking align to the right. And then here I'm going to see gutter. Then I'm going to use 20 because the default size is always 20. So I'm going to use 20. So this is going to be 20. So this is what I have. I'll align to the center. Okay. So we are done with this, and then we move over to the web. So let's move to the web, the mobile. Sorry. So we're going to go the same way. Click this and then choose columns. So for mobile, I use 6. I use 6 for here. So I use 6, and the gutter I'm going to use 25. You can't use 50. Now let's use 50 and show you how it is. The space is too much. So I'm going to use 25 or 30 or 27. So let's use 25. So I'm going to just do the same thing I did for here. So I'm going to drag this in. Now you can see that the text is actually big. It's too much for the web. So what am I going to do? I'm to semi bold and I move to the center. Then I will move to the center. So let me move to the center. Now you can see that 24 semi bold actually fits in. So, but here I'm going to change it to be 6. So I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to use, now if you go to this place, okay, let's use the smallest part. So I'm going to use 18. Okay, let's use 16 regular. So I'm going to use 16 regular or 16 medium. So I'm going to reduce this to 16, and then I'm going to say it's margin. So margin we are using is the margin we are using is 25. 25. So I'm going to drag this in here and this here. And then I'm going to duplicate this and then say for our gutter, the default size is 20. So let's drag it this place. And then we're going to see our gutter is 20. Okay, sorry, this is supposed to be. So let's use 20 for it and let's align to the center. Perfect. So the next thing we're going to do, so we are done with our layout grid. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create our so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create our color palette. So how do we create the color palette? So just like I said, we are going to be using so we're going to be using view. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring my rectangle. I'm going to place it here. So now don't forget, we need to create a title. So I'm going to duplicate this and then bring it in here. So I'm going to move it this way. And I'm going to say color palette. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put my rectangle here. So I'm going to select this color because that is the color we'll be using. And I'm going to use this shade of color. So now Figma released a plugin that can make you generate different, like the different shade of this particular color we'll be using. So I'm going to drag this out. So I'm going to go to my resources. I'm going to click on plugin and I'm going to look for tints. Tints and shades. So I'm going to click on run. So sometimes if you click on it, it's on component, sometimes on this. So you just click on plugin, type for tint and shade, click on run. To tell you select a rectangle. So let's go back and select a rectangle. So I'm going to go back again. For those of us that actually installed it, so just come here. Okay, create from selected rectangle. So I'm going to click on it, and it's running to generate the colors related to this. Now this is the main color, which is this, and the color code, which is this. And look at the lighter shade, and then look at the darker shade. Now if you check this color, you can see that it falls under the darker shade of it. Now what are we going to do? So we're going to create our color palette. So this is what we are going to do. We are going to duplicate. Now we're going to get our dark color, which is this. So I'm going to click on this. Okay, let's create our light color first of all. This is the color we are using. So I want a lighter shade for my background. So I'm going to use this. This is actually a little bit. So let's use this. Okay, now let's use this, and then I'm going to duplicate this. So I'm going to use this. So now let's see how this dark color turned out to be. Okay, this is actually nice. So now let's create gray from this last color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this here. I'm going to select the last color. So to create my darker shade, the darker part, the white, the gray, light gray, and dark gray. So I'm going to right click. Now, the reason why I don't have to go back to this place, but if you choose to go back here, no problem. But now you don't have to go back here because it has fallen under recent of your plugins. So what you just do, click on the element, right click and come to plugins, and then go up, you will see it here. It's not that you create from the selected rectangle. Just click on it, then it will generate. Now it has generated even the darker parts, like the darker parts of the gray, and then the lighter shade of the gray, of the dark color, sorry. Now this is what we are going to do. Now this is what we are going to do. So this is what we are going to do. So what we are going to do is we're going to create the lighter shade. So I'm going to get this for my dark gray. So let's use this. And then light gray. Let's use this. Let's use this. Okay. Now we have this, and then we have the white, and then we have the white. So the white, everybody know that this is the lighter white color. So now our white is not showing. What are we going to do? We're going to give it a stroke, and then we're going to reduce the opacity. This. So I'm going to. It's about to rain here. So I'm going to reduce this here. So I'm going to click on all of them and arrange them very well. So now I have this. I can actually choose to add a lighter shade of this color. So let's use a lighter shade. Let's see this. Okay, this is actually too not light. So I can duplicate it and come this way. So I can duplicate and come this way, and then select it, and then also generate to have the lighter shade of the purple. So it has generated the lighter shade of purple. So I can choose here and then select this. Okay, it's too light, it's too dark here. This is perfect. So I can just move this to my rough page or just delete it out. So once I'm done selecting the color I want, so you can choose to move it to your rough page, or you can choose to delete it. So I'm going to move now. Let's pick this color for their color code. So I'm going to take this font size of 28 semi bold. So I'm going to click on it. So I don't like how sharp it is. So I'm going to click on all of them and give it corner radius of 10, because I want it to have a curvy part. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to click and copy the color code. So I'm going to pick the color code. Sorry about that. So I'm going to pick the color code, Control C. What's going on? So I don't know what is going on. So let's go back and pick this color here. So this is what we have, or you can just come here and then pick the color code from here. So you can just choose to highlight, copy, and then come here and then paste it. So this is what we have. So I'm going to go back and use my semi-bold of 28. So this is what we have, and I'm going to move in here. I'm going to duplicate and move it here. I'm going to pick the color 918FDA 91E8DA. So this is what I have. Okay, same thing you will do for others. So I don't know why I can't copy this color. Okay, so I think I can copy it now. So I'll paste it. So I'm going to paste it, and then I will come. So I will come to this one. So I'm going to duplicate this. Yeah, I'm going to click on this. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to copy. Don't understand what's going on. So I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste it here. So I'm going to also copy this. I'm going to paste it here. Okay, I'm going to also duplicate this here, copy the color code, Ctrl V, Ctrl C, Command C, then paste it here. And then I'm going to do this color. Everybody know that FFF is actually the color. I'm going to paste it here. Now I've copied the color code I'm going to use on my FinTech app. So now it is time for me to arrange it. So what am I going to do? This, so this and this auto layout, this auto layout, this auto layout, this and this auto layout, this and this auto layout, this auto layout, this and this auto layout. Now I'm going to arrange all of them. So I'm going to highlight all of them. Now it's showing me mix because the space between this is 15, this is 15, this is 22, this is 22, 22, 19, and 19. So now all of them is having different space. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to type and use 20. So let the space between this box here and this be the same thing. Now this is what I am done with my color palette. Now I will have to duplicate. And then the next one I'm going to create is the illustrations and icon. Now somebody asked a question, where do we get illustrations and icon? So for the icon, iconography, okay, let me see if I'm okay. Iconography. So now for the iconography and illustrations, so illustration, you don't have to drop illustrations except you have seen an inspiration how you want your illustration to look like. Your let's say you're creating for an onboarding screen, you have seen how you want it to look like, let's say onboarding screen for something you are doing. Now illustrations, you can get illustration from different sites. So let me just write the list of illustrations where you list the list of websites where you can see illustrations. So I'm going to use 24 medium to write the site name, 24 medium. So you can get from ondraw.co. I'm going to duplicate. You can get from story sets. You can get from free pics. You can get from Lotify's. You can get from you can get from vector.com. So just type vector.com. So these are the sites where you can get illustrations. You can also get from Figma community. So you can get from Figma communities. 2D, 3D, you can get from it. But story set and ondraw is just 2D, and you can change the color to your text. So there are other sites where you can actually pay to get the fonts. FreePix, you cannot change the color. Lotify is this animation illustrations. Vector.com, you can't change the color. Figma community, some you can change the color, some you can't change the color. So for icons, we have a plugin called for icons, we have a plugin called Iconify. We have icon 8. We have icon 8. We have feather icons. We have streamline. We have there are many of them out there. So these are the ones I'm trying to remember. There are huge icon. I think there is huge icon. Some are sites, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are plugin, and they are also sites. This is site like a site. This is like a site, and it's also a plugin. So let me show you. So Iconify. So it's loading. Now this is it, and this is for stream icon. This is Iconify, which is free, but for now this is icon 8. There are a lot of icon pack on the Figma out there. You can see what is the other one? You can see there's a lot of icon out there. I'm trying to remember one. There's one that is actually nice, but I can't remember the name. But these are the icon. There are also, you can get icon from Figma community. So I'm going to leave it for Figma community. So these are the places you can get icon from. So one is a plugin which is free. Icon 8. I don't think Icon 8 is free. I'm not sure because I don't use it. Feather icon is free. It's a plugin also. Stream icon is not free. You have to pay for some icons. And it's actually a plugin. Which icon is a site you have. I think it's not.
Okay, so right now we're going to create our button. So we've created all others visual techniques. So the next one we're going to create now is button. So I have duplicated this right here, and I'm going to use my font size. So here I'm going to use font weight of medium and then 20 px. I'm going to drag it this way, bring it here, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click and then use add auto layer. So I'm going to add auto layers to it, and then I'm going to change the text to button A. So now let's use this button. And now if you notice, you see that there is no background color in this button. So now what we are going to do, we are going to add a background color. So I'm going to click on this plus sign here, and I'm going to pick this color. So I'm going to use our primary color for this. So I'm going to use this color, and I'm going to scroll down. Now for visibility and accessibility, you don't want to use this kind of color, black and this dark color. So what are you going to do? You're going to change this text color to white. So let's use white. So you can also pick the white color. So let's pick the white color. Good. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a corner radius of 10, and then this is how it's going to be, and I'm going to drag the button a little bit. Now one fun thing about auto layout is you can play around in the settings. So all you have to do is just to click on this, and then it will correspond or respond to whatever you're doing. You don't need to click inside to adjust whatever text or elements you want to adjust. So that is one fun part about auto layout. And now we want to create. Now remember our previous class, we said we have 3 kinds of buttons. We have the active, over, disabled, and then over, active, disabled, and a pressed button. Now what we are going to do now, we don't want to create different kinds of button. Now we want to create one button that has its children, like its keys under. So what are we going to do? So we are going to make this a component. So now component is when you just make other elements respond to one pattern. So this is what we are going to do now. We're going to make this button a component. So I'm going to click here, create components, or right click, create component. So whichever way you want to. Now let's make this a component. So either you click this here, or you right click and then click this to make a component. Now we've made this a component. Now let's make this a variant. Now variant is other elements that are related to this, but when you want to design on your design, you don't have to select them. You just have to pick one and then select the ones you want to select. Now this is what we are going to do. First thing first is I'm going to click here, add variant here, or we come here, we click on this, and then you select this, add variant. So whichever way you want to, both of them are correct. Now the next thing we're going to do is we want to create 4 buttons, but we just want all of them to be inside one pack. So now we've create our pressed, or let's say I will create our hover button. So let's come here and change this to over. So this is going to be over button, which is the primary button. Now the next one, so you can click here, add more variants. So this is going to be active button, and then we're going to pick this color. So we're going to come over here, pick the color, and then click this way, and then we're going to close it. And then we're going to change the name to be button B. So let's use capital letter. So the next one is going to be pressed button. So I'm going to just click on the plus. Good. And then we are going to change this to be C. And I'm going to make this a background color of white. So I'm going to come to this fill color, pick this, and then pick the white color. And then when we pick the white color, you find out that our text is actually missing. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to change the color of the text to our primary color. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to use this color. And I'm going to give this a stroke, like a line, to show that, okay, this is actually a button, not a text button. So what am I going to do? So I'm going to come over here, click on this plus sign. Now it has given me the default color for the stroke, which is black, and I don't want to use black. So I'm going to click on this stroke, pick my color, and then select this. So you can choose to use 3, 4, 5. Let's say you can choose to use 2, you can choose to use 3, you can, but just use the one that is balanced enough. So I'm going to use 1 for it. You can use 1 point. You can actually make it in decimal places. You can say, okay, 1.2. Now, good. So the next thing that we're going to do now, we want to create a disabled button. So what am I going to do? I'm going to click on this last button and then click this, add variant. So I have added another button. So I'm going to change this button, the second button, to pressed button. So this is pressed button. And then the next one is going to be disabled button. So let's change the name here. Disabled button. Now, how do I differentiate this disabled button? So the same way we did for these 2 buttons, that's what we are going to do here. So here we are going to double click to get the button, scroll down, pick the color. So I'm going to pick the color. So this is our disabled color. So I'm going to pick this color, scroll down, and then I'm going to take out this stroke. So I'm going to click on it and then I'll just remove it. So now we have the disabled button. So let's reduce this text font. So let's use this color. So where is this color? So we're going to use this lighter shade of green. Good. So we have our disabled button. Now we've created those 4 buttons inside one pack. It's just like when you buy a pack of chocolates. So you just pick any kinds of chocolate you want, but it is one particular taste. Okay. Now, but it serves its purpose. Now it has different flavor, the banana, the mango, and all. So that is what this button stands for. So now what are we going to do now? Let me show you one sweet thing about this button. When you create something in auto layout or in component. Now let's take this out. Okay, now so let's take this one out, but we're going to return it, and let's duplicate it. Now, where this is the component. So this is the component. When you click on it, so you will see that it has this element, design or shape here. So telling you that this is the component. So Whenever I make adjustments here, it's correspond. It correspond. But the only thing I know it doesn't work is whenever you change the text here, okay, it work also, yeah. But when you change the text on this, it doesn't affect this because this is like the master component and this is gotten from this, okay. So but when you make changes on this second other button, it doesn't respond to this. But if you make changes on this button, it works on this, okay. So that is the beauty about components, okay. But this is the one beauty I love about components, okay. Now, so there's no need now. Let's say we have moved to the next page to we've moved to the next page to start designing. So you don't have to stress yourself. What you have to do is just come to this asset, come to there, drag your button. So once you drag the button, let's say you are designing with hover button on this particular page. So if you want let's say you need a disabled button on that particular page, you don't need to go back and then look for the button. All you have to do is just come to this place, click, and then select the kind of button you want to use on that particular screen, okay. So let's go back to our design. So let's go back to our design. So the next thing we are going to do is the input field. So we are going to design the input field. So now, how do we create this input field where we can fill our text? First thing first is we need to use our shape rectangle. So I'm going to use, remember you're going to make your input field and your button height to be the same thing. So here we've been using 44, so we are going to use 44 here. So we have 44 and we're going to give it the same corner radius for here. So we're going to use corner radius of 10. Good. So the next thing we are going to do now, we don't want to make our input field this way. So what are we going to do? So what we are going to do is we are going to pick the white color. So we're going to use here and then here, or you use your keyboard shortcut, use I and then pick the color, and then we're going to give this a stroke, and then we're going to pick the color also. So we're going to use this color for stroke. Now let's see the outcome. This is okay. Now how are we going to do? Now we've created the shape. Now we need our text and we need to create all other MP3. So what are we going to do? So we are going to come here, we're going to use we want the text to stand out, so we are going to use medium. So I'm going to use medium for my title text. So I'm going to drag it this way and then place it here, and then I'm going to change this to the label. So that first name, last name, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to move this up, and I'm also going to pick the inner text to show some, like, write your name, enter your phone number, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to cut. Okay, let's pick this color. So you can choose to copy or you can choose to drag. So let's copy and then let's move to this way and then paste it and bring it inside and put okay, let's put text, and then let's reduce the color to this color. So let's use this lighter shade. So I'm going to pick the color. Okay, it's not visible enough, so I'm going to pick this color. So I have picked this color. Okay, this is perfect. So I'm going to make this a form of auto layout. So I'm going to hold both of them and then I'll right click and then select auto layout, and then I can drag it. Now when you are dragging, you see that the text is at the center, but you don't want it to be at the center. So what are you going to do? You're going to move this text to the right hand side. So what are we going to do? So you're going to click on this element and come to your auto layout settings, align to the left. So when you align to the left and you don't want it to be too far, so you can choose to reduce it here. Now good, we have reduced it here. So what are you going to do now? You can just hold these two together, and once you hold these two together, you have created your button. So you make sure that if you don't want it, if you want the space between here and here to be more than 6, you can go ahead and click here and then adjust it wherever way you want. But in this aspect, I am going to use 6. Okay, and here I'm going to make sure that this text is actually at the center. So I'm going to click it and make sure it's at the center. If you want it to be at the bottom or top or right, but just make sure it is at the center. Okay, so now we're going to indicate how other input field is going to look like. So what are we going to do? So I'm going to duplicate it. Now this is for active, and I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to add icon. So let's get our icon. So I'm going to go back to our resources. I'm going to open Iconography. So when I open Iconography, we wait for it to load. So while we are waiting for it to load, let's remove this from auto layout. So I'm going to add it inside here. So okay, it's open. So it's open. Let's look for icon. Okay, so we have a lot of them. So I'm going to pick this, I'm going to drag it inside, and I'm going to close the plugin. So I'm going to bring it inside here. So this is actually big, so I'm going to reduce it to, so you can choose to click on scale. So click on scale, reduce it. Okay, now I have reduced it, but I don't want the color to be standing out as this color. I want it to be the same way as this color. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go back, select move, and then I'm going to pick the color, and I'm going to zoom in and then select this color. Now now I want this icon to be at the right hand side. So what am I going to do? I'm going to hold both of them, then add them in auto layout. So once I add auto layout, I'm going to hold this, and then I'm going to push it to the right hand side. So I'm going to push it to the right hand side. So I have pushed it to the right hand side, and I'm going to hold this element, and I'll make sure it's at the center. So that the space between this place is 15, and the space between this place is 15. But in this aspect here is 17. So what am I going to do? I'm going to hold this, and I'm going to make it 15. So now we have up 15, here 15, and down is 15. Okay, because this is what auto layout setting has given us. So the next one I'm going to design is to show sources. So I'm going to hold the both of them and make it auto layout, and make sure that the space between both of them is okay. So I'm going to hold this here and make sure the space between both of them is 6. So I'm going to drag this down, and I'm going to put error and success message. So I'm going to remove it from auto layout. Remove from auto layout. Now, removing from auto layout, I'm going to also use this text form, bring it down a little bit, and put username. So you just want to show error and success input field. So I'm going to say success. So I'm going to, now if you choose to reduce this to 10, let's say for instance you want to make it 10, and now we don't have 10 font size here, so you are going to add it, because now I notice that 10 is actually good, so you are going to also add it here. Okay, so now we're going to use 10. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my text style. I'm going to duplicate this, Ctrl D. So I'm going to duplicate this, and then I'm going to change this heading to 17, and then I'll change this to, so I'm going to change this to regular, I'm also going to change this to 10. Okay, and I'm going to change this to 10. Okay, now I'm going to come here, and I'm going to use our green color. Remember, we did not add our status color, which is the error and then success color. So we are going to move this down. We're going to highlight and move it down, and then we are going to duplicate these 3, and then bring it down, and then we are going to add our error, success, and warning color. So I'm going to use this color for green. I'm going to use this color for red, And I'm also going to use this color. So let's move this to red. So I'm going to use this color for warning. So I'm going to use this color for warning. Okay, let's use this color. So I'm going to pick the color code here, and then I'm paste it here. I'm going to go back here, pick the red color, and then I'm going to paste it here. Same thing for success. So we have created our status color, success, error, and warning. So I'm going to, so we already have this color, so I'm going to pick this color, come back to my infill that shows the success, and then I will highlight, and then I will paste it. Now we have for success, and then you can choose to make them auto layout like this, and then like this, and then you duplicate this, and then you make this error. So I'm going to use my red color, go back here, pick the color. Okay, showing me color on this particular page, so I don't have to stress myself. I will just pick the red color this way. So we have the active input field, we have input field with icon, we have the success, and we have the error. So you can choose to add other. So let's say our design is actually going to carry a text box. So what are we going to do? I'm going to click and get this shape, and then I will drag it. And once I've dragged it, I want this text to be at the top. So I'm going to go to my auto layer setting and align to the top left. So, and I want a text to show that it is 0 to 100. So I'm going to duplicate any of these. So I'm going to duplicate it, bring it this way, and I'm going to say 100 over, let's say you want only 200 words. So I'm going to move it this way, and I'm going to select the same color for this. Now we are good to go. So I'm going to align. Okay, I'm going to remove this from auto layout. I'm going to hold this box and this text, and then I will make them auto layout and make sure I am aligning them to the top right. So I'm going to hold this again and then make it this. So once I am done, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm just going to highlight all of them and make them auto layout. Or you can just, instead of I'm going to highlight all of them and then make them auto layout. So when you want to design, you just have to drag that one out, drag it out, drag it out. But if you don't want to make it this way, then another way too, you can make them in components. So, but if you find it how to work with component, here is another way you can actually make it. You can just make it this way. When you want to design, you go and pick. But if you are so good with component, now let's create this in component so that we can actually just select it the same way we select for button. So I'm going to make this a component, and I'm going to add variant same way we did for the button. And then I'm going to, okay, since we already have all these elements out, so I am just going to drag them inside. So I'm going to pick this icon and then move it inside this. And I'm also going to do the same thing here, highlight and then move it to the right hand side. Move to the right hand side. Then I'm going to hold this shape and then move to the center so that it will have the same space between the left and the right. So here is 17 and here is showing me 15. So I'll just come here and then move it 15, or you can go here and drag it. And now I want to make, I want to create, so we have created this one, we can take it out. Then I want to create this other one. So I'm going to click here, bring it in, and I'm going to take this icon out. So I'm going to take this icon out. So I'm going to create the success button. So I'm just going to drag it inside and bring it in here. Or we can take it out and then drag this out in here. So let's drag this so that I can have space. So let's drag this in here. Okay, I don't know why I actually can't drag something out. Okay, so we want to create a success button. So what am I going to do? So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to drag this auto layout a little bit, and I'm just add this inside. So once I add it inside, I'm just going to drag it up a little bit. So I'm going to hold the success and this other rectangle, make it auto layout. I don't want this space here, so I'm going to reduce it. So I'm going to make it 0. So once I'm done, I'm going to hold this just the same way we created this one, but this one is just standing on its own. But these ones are just in a auto layout or component pattern. So we're going to click on this, and I'm going to delete these since I've already created them in components. So I'm just going to change the color and text of the second one I have already created. So I'm just going to make it, like, change it to error. So I'm going to change the color to red. Already have it here. So the next one I'm going to create is this text. So I'm going to delete this out. So the next one I'm going to create is this text box here with this number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this and then I'll click on this add variant and add variant. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this a little bit down, and I'm going to click on this text box and then drag it down. Okay, I think this size is okay. So I want this text to be here and I want this text to be here. So I'm going to move this to the top left, and then I'm going to hold back this and move this to the right hand side. So come to this place and then click on it. Okay, and I'm going to change it to 0/200, and then I'm going to change the color to my gray that I've been using. Okay, so I'm going to delete this out. So you can choose to create it to this pattern, but this pattern is very stressful, because if you want to design for this particular button, you will have to go back to your style guide and then drag it. But with components, you don't have to stress yourself. So let's take this out and let's work with this. So I'm going to zoom in and then work with it. So we've created our button and input field. Now let's name this input field the same way we did for the button. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to click, like, you're going to first of all click this, come to this current variant and then change it to active input field. You can just use active, then you can use with icon. Here is success, here is error, and here is, okay, let's hold it very well. Let's drag this a little bit. So here is going to be text field. So here is going to be text field. Now when I click on this, it's going to show this. So you can just click on this and see all the values. So you see them, this, and this. Okay, so once you've created this, so let's delete this, or let's just take it out here. So once you've created all this, so let's remember to turn on our layout grid. So I'm going to click on this and turn it on. I'm going to click on this and turn it on. So once we've created all this, you can go ahead and start designing your UI designs, either web or mobile. So you can go ahead and start designing all this. I hope we've learned something, and we are going to keep practicing till we become the best. Bye.